Good morning. Our media authority called you this morning for a press conference on accreditation of national journalists. This is to inform the media fraternity that media authority will commence the accreditation of bona fide national journalists in the Republic of South Sudan with the effect from Monday, October 17, 2022. The purpose of the accreditation is to certify recognition of working journalists and other qualified media practitioners. Accreditation shall be granted only to an individual upon presentation of professional certificates, a recommendation letter duly issued by the media agency for which the media professional works, and a file application form. A form will be made available by the media authority. Media professionals seeking accreditation should submit their application to the media authority's office within normal working hours. The accreditation of journalists shall be made in accordance with the Media Authority Regulation on Accreditation of Journalists 2018. This is the end of press conference on accreditation of national journalists. And thank you. In case if you have any question in regards to the commencement of the accreditation of national journalists, then I'm free to take some few questions. And as I have already mentioned, the accreditation of journalists has been ongoing for international journalists, but for national journalists it has been an overdue process that we need to give at least a recognition for those professional journalists that need to be recognized. The accreditation of the journalists should be in accordance with the regulation on accreditation of journalists that was issued in 2018. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Samuel Paul from the Mail.
From?
The Mail.
Mail.
Yeah.
Yes.
My question, what is the challenges that's facing you as media authority in the work with journalists? Number two, how many national journalists in South Sudan registered with you? And how many media companies, national, is yours? Thank you.
Yes.
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 Yeah, my name is Lord George. I work for Juba Info online news website, and also I work for the Union of Journalists of South Sudan. Now, my question here is for how long will you give to the journalists who are not in the national capital, given that there are many challenges to those who are in the states who may be required to get this accreditation, but there is a challenge. What mechanism is in place for people who are not in the national capital to get? And second question is, how long is the accreditation to the national journalists? I mean, the expiration for it. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Daniel Garan. I work for the radio community. Yeah, my question is, now that the accreditations of the national journalists is going to be introduced, don't you think those ones that are not going actually to be getting that opportunity of accreditation, like those ones that are at the grassroots, or even those ones that are here, don't you think they are also going to be out of the practice because others may not qualify to do that, and that will limit the number of the people that are operating?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is Manyang David Mayad. I work for VOA. What actually forced the within your authority to come up with this decision? Number two, who is actually a journalist in your accreditation? Are there some qualifications, secondary education, university degree or diploma? We need you to clarify that. Also, there are radio producers in the community who are not coming to the field as active journalists. Do they also need to be accredited? Thank you.
Thank you. Another question? Good. Yeah, thank you very much for all the concerns that you have raised as we commence the accreditation of a national journalist. The first question from the mail raised by Samir Bol, the challenges media authority that is getting in regard to the journalists, and the number of the national journalists that we have in the country at the moment, and the media agencies that are registered. Thank you very much. You know what the challenges that we are getting from the national journalists is just a normal challenges everybody is facing. You might be facing some of the challenges within your media house. You might be facing challenges within the environment that you are working. You will be having challenges related also to the competencies also as you do your work. Some of you have the capacity, and some of you might not have been having that capacity. These are the general situation that we are having in the media. But these challenges are manageable in a way that the capacity building at the moment has been ongoing, and you have had series of training being conducted to address issues of the gap related to ethics in journalism, how to report professionally. And you have been having this series of the workshop being conducted by the media advocacy groups and the Union of Journalists. As we are talking here today in this press conference, the Union of Journalists is having one of critical activity currently ongoing in a will. That is to strengthen and improve the work of the media and also the working environment. So when they are doing this capacity building, is not done only in isolation. We need a lot of awareness about the existing law. This media is being guided by the law. And if it is being guided by the law, the authority has simplified the guidance by issuing regulations specific to broadcasting, to print, and to accreditation of journalists. So immediately after we have issued this regulation, they have really improved the environment of reporting, specifically to the media entities and the practicing journalists. Previously, we used to have so many calls all over, but now at least if you go to any radio station, they know what to do in case if there is a problem, and they know how to troubleshoot most of the issues. So at least the challenges now are being addressed partially, but not fully. But with the time, since it is a process, then we should be able to have that commitment and keep up the same spirit. Coming to the issue of the national journalists, everybody is a journalist at the moment. That's what I can tell you. Union of Journalists might be having a number, and there are some of the journalists that are not even registered by now with the Union of Journalists. This is your professional association, the Union of Journalists. So at least the number of the journalists registered by the union might not be the absolute number of the journalists in the country. And the fact that the profession is now open to everybody, everybody is a journalist. And this is one of the issues that we need to streamline. For you to be in the media sector, you must meet the requirement for you to be in the sector. It's the same thing with the media entities. The media entities that are operating currently in the media sector, all of them, they met the requirement and they are legally recognized in the Republic of South Sudan to be operating any media activity in the country. It's the same thing also with the journalists. Since we don't know who are the journalists, everybody is a journalist. So at the moment with the accreditation, those who meet the requirements will be the only people that will be given accreditation. Accreditation will not be for everybody.
And what will be the requirements?
The requirements are very clear as per accreditation of journalist regulations. The minimum requirement, you must have a certificate. At least, minimum, you must have a certificate in journalism. And you should be able to have done a training also in journalism. For other categories, as you move up, like editors, like chief editors, station managers, you should also meet certain requirements for you to be in that capacity. So what it means is that we are not here to restrict the work of the journalists, but to streamline the work of the journalists for this profession to be respected. We don't want it to open whereby everybody is a journalist. This thing must stop. Number two also, there is the work that is meant only for journalists. And now those who are doing it, they are not journalists. And even if there are training being given by various institutions with the intention to develop the capacity of the journalists, you found some of the people who are attending those or benefiting from this occasion, they are not journalists. So in this regard, whatever is being done in the sector should be meant only for journalists. And this is one of the area that most of you as journalists has been longing for. Simply because at some point you might get some of the opportunities with other international media agencies. This recognition also is very important. If you are recognized, then your accreditation enables you to advance your career as you cross the borders. So it is really very important for you as journalists, and also to protect the sector for everybody who claim to be journalists. So in regards to the number of the journalists, yeah, we cannot be able to give you the definite number. We have a good number of media houses, and we have lists of those who are working in those media houses. So the current number of journalists we have, or we have knowledge, is not less than 200 journalists. And if you go to Patrick Oyet in Union of Journalists, will tell you more than 600. And they have, some in that list might be from day one, they started as Union of Journalists. But we want the current journalists, the updated list. The list of the Union of Journalists will help us as media authority also during the accreditation. For those who are working in the media houses, it is easy for you to come with a recommendation letter from your media houses. For you, if you are a freelancer, you need to give us the recommendation from the media house that publishes your work. And if you don't have completely, then recommendation from Union of Journalists also will be very important in this situation. So this is in regard to the journalists. In regard to the media houses that have registered, as so far as of today, we have more than 230 media entities officially recognized. Out of these 200, maybe it is 100 that is active. Some are inactive due to the economic challenges caused, especially in the print media. A good number of the papers are not publishing. As you are aware, we have only few papers that are in circulation, that are around 6 papers at the moment. So, but we have registered a good number of them, but because of the printing costs and other operational costs, suppose some of them to close temporarily until the economy improves.
And is that a concern to you as a media authority? Is that a concern, decline in the number of papers publishing because of economic challenges?
Yeah, that is a concern, yeah, because if the cost of printing become very high, so the access to information become a challenge, because there are a good number of the print media that are interesting, but the cost of the challenges become very high.
And then is there anything you can do to kind of help them with the economy, maybe advocate on their behalf, or what role do you play in this case?
Yeah, that's a very good question. In regards to the role that is being played, we have been engaging the government to revive the government printing press. And if the government printing press will be able to be operational, we can be able to discuss, at least to subsidize, the cost of printing of the newspapers so that it is easy for the newspapers to print and it is cheap for people to buy at the same time. Now, if you are printing a paper and then you want to add the cost, how many people who are going to afford? But if there is that intervention of subsidizing the cost of the printing, therefore the cost of selling the newspaper will be able to be affordable by a good number. Then it will enhance the access to information.
And what has been the result of your engagement with the government? You said you are getting the government to revive.
The government is always positive that they will be able to revive the printing press, but when? We don't know. Yeah. Thank you.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, I have not finished those questions. Yeah. So in regards to the journalists that are outside Juba being asked by road, which is concerned, and the validity of the accreditation. The validity of accreditation is between 3 months and 12 months, renewable every year. So for full journalists that are fully recognized and working and meet the requirement, they will be able to get the full accreditation. And the validity, as I told you, that is 12 months. The journalists outside Juba, this is a process. The launching of accreditation today is the process that is beginning, and it is an ongoing process. It's not going to stop. Anytime you wish to get accreditation, you are free to come to the media authority. Yes, the concern will be for those who are outside Juba. They will be able to do it at their own convenience. Because at the moment, we have not yet come out that unless you are accredited, this is where you are supposed to work. At least we have to give at least a good period of time for you people to get this accreditation. And it is you who feel to come for this accreditation. The question from Daniel Garang from Radio Community, what about those journalists that will not be qualified? The answer is very simple. If you are not qualified, the accreditation talk here, you meet the minimum requirements. So there will be no way you can be given accreditation if you have not met any of the qualification that has been, any requirement that has been spelled out here. The fact that the minimum is the certificate. The question from David Manyang Mayar, the reason why accreditation and the requirement and the radio community, I think I touched something to do with the requirement. And the reason, as in my press statement when I read out, is that the purpose is to certify the recognition of working journalists and other qualified media practitioners. It's a simple reason. There is no any other reason apart from that. Those who deserve to be recognized, they are the ones to be given opportunity. We can't just leave it like that. You know very well, some of you who have been working or reporting for international media, the current card that you are having will no longer be there. Simply, we did it as a temporary arrangement to facilitate our national journalists that met that competence to work with the international media. And that's why if you see your accreditation is reading international, it's simply because based on the request of the international media house. But now, as a national journalist, you have all the rights to be recognized officially as a national journalist in the Republic of South Sudan. And your accreditation will be acceptable by any media house. They will not ask other things because your qualification already has been established in your host country, in your country. So it is very important for you, especially the practicing journalists. So the issue is very simple, is to recognize, is to certify your recognition as a working journalist and other qualified media practitioners. When we talk of other media practitioners, there are some of the people in the humanitarian that are also having a media activity in nature. And also those in the humanitarian, they should be able also to meet the minimum requirements for them to be given this accreditation, simply because you might be working in the organization and then you don't meet the requirement. Organization should be able to take those who are qualified. And if they cannot be able to meet the requirement, we will not be able to give them. It should be only for those who qualify in the sector, whether it is humanitarian or in the media and in another sector within the country. So the reason is very simple, is to make sure we have streamlined the work, and it is the professional for this sector who are carrying out the activities.
What about those media practitioners who are, they are practicing journalists, but they don't have certificates? What will be done to them?
Yeah, for those, we will be having a good number of students learning journalism, and they need to continue practicing. As media authority will continue giving them permits until they meet the qualification. So for you, if you are still learning and you want to practice, you have not yet achieved. And you remember before that is accreditation is issued only to individual upon presentation of professional certificate. Until you get that certificate, this is when you will get the accreditation. But if you have any issue that you need to be facilitated as usual, you will be given those normal permit that we have been issuing. Okay. It will not stop the normal activities of the media authority.
Yeah, now with the introduction of accreditation, don't you think the security will actually be threatening journalists who are not actually having the accreditation, yet they are permitted by the media authority to practice? They will be asking for this accreditation. And maybe you have permitted that person, just as you said, that you are not going to be sent out just because you don't have accreditation. But the security agents may actually need this accreditation. Don't you think it is going to be a threat?
It will not be a threat. The permit will only apply for those who don't qualify. And if you have accreditation, we want to make it as a practice, and it is a responsibility by the government to ensure that they honor the accreditation. Most of you have been using your media house ID. And this is the message that we have communicated out. As long that media house is recognized by the media authority, you present your card as community radio, Bakita radio, whatever radio, iRadio, then they respect those ones. But there are individual journalists that are not associated with any. So how do they operate? Accreditation is important in this situation. Yeah. And all the levels of the government should be made aware, and they should be aware of the accreditation of the national journalists. Yeah.
Yes.
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 There is this issue of journalism in this country where it is associated with struggle of issues to do with money. This accreditation, is it attached? Is there anything involved that they will pay, or it will be for free, especially for freelance journalists?
What about for the working journalists?
Asking for the cost.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. In regards to the accreditation, there is nothing free. It's very simple. There is a cost associated with it. And in this regard, the cost is always published in the financial app of every financial year. It's the same accreditation fee that we apply. As we are now launching the accreditation of national journalists, as of today, it is the same fee that was applicable for the national journalists that used to be for international journalists. That will be the same thing applicable to all of you. So there is no fee that we are going to set at the moment. It is the same fee that is published, and it is the same fee that will be applicable to all. Whether you are editor, whether you are a freelancer, it is the cost remain the same. And this should not worry you.
Yeah, actually you asked the question I was going to ask.
Yeah.
But we actually need to know exactly how much. You may compare it to these other fees, but we don't know how much are they. So how much actually? And then number two is this thing of renewal after 12 months. If I am accredited, why do I need to renew after 12 months and I'm qualified? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, like how much was a freelancer by then paying the cost?
Yeah, in regards to you that you need an accreditation that is indefinite, That is your question. There is nothing like that. Regulation is very clear, and it has already specified the requirements. And we cannot amend this, and we cannot invent another wheel. These ones are applicable to everybody. And if I ask you, where did you get accreditation that does not expire? Can you tell me a good example?
Nationality.
Is it a profession? Is it a profession?
No.
Exactly. So we need to be realistic in this situation. Everything that we are doing it in the best interest of the nation and the best interest of the profession.
Just in line with this.
And in this regard, the validity, it is a must. This is one of the things that you have to know. There is no way you will be saying that we need it open. It will not work. It's simple as that.
Okay.
Okay, South Sudan now, there is more those who don't have national certificate working in the media.
National certificate, like
Yeah.
ID.
So this national journalist ID
Yeah.
is require a national certificate or just anyone who is working locally here?
National ID or national certificate?
National, the accreditation. It will be for those, like if foreigner working here, will get this or accreditation.
Yeah, the foreigner says the accreditation of international has been ongoing. So, and it will not stop, it will continue as usual. And visiting journalists, international journalists, we give...
I mean like those Kenyan journalists or Ugandan journalists who are working here in South Sudan locally.
Oh, okay. You mean resident journalists who are international?
Yeah.
Yeah. The resident journalists who are international should be able to obtain international accreditation on condition that they have met the requirements. They will also meet the requirements, and they will be able to meet the requirement of residency. Work permit is one of the key.
Another thing I saw last year, there is some misunderstanding between Radio Miraya and authority. What happened? They solved this problem or still?
The Radio Miraya is not solved. The Radio Miraya is political. And if it is political, our laws here does not allow any political radio or any political media. Radio Miraya was brought by the political agreement between the United Nations mission in South Sudan and the government of the Republic of South Sudan. That is known as SOPA. That is what brought the Radio Miraya. Radio Miraya should be able to meet the requirements of regulation like any broadcasting. They fail to meet that. The media authority has issued suspension, and when they are operating in defiance of suspension order. And media, the journalists of that radio are not allowed by the law to do any media coverage within the country. So how they are reporting, the underground reporting should not be considered as official broadcasting as for us as media authority. What we know is that we have forwarded the file to the leadership of the country, since it is political in nature, and they should be able to find the best way of addressing it. Radio Miraya is not officially recognized. That's for your information. The journalists you see when there is a media event, do you always see them? No, you don't see them. They are always turned away. That is the whole issue, simply because they are not recognized. And in these regards, they are trying their level best to address the issue and come back to try to be recognized. As UN, they are working toward that, but when will it be okay? Unless we give them official recognition as the regulatory body. So,
are the South Sudan working for Radio Miraya qualified to get the accreditation as the South Sudanese? Radio Miraya?
As long you come with a recommendation from Radio Miraya will not be acceptable. Simple.
And how long have they been suspended?
Since 2018.
3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you, I would like you to comment on the state of media freedom in South Sudan. We have not been performing very well in the international ranking. We've had cases of arrest of fellow journalists months back during the protest in Konya, and the suspension of journalists at the radio journalism. So in this case, I would like to ask you, has media freedom worsened this year than last year, or improved? And maybe you can tell us the implications in that case, what your media has improved.
Thank you. Yeah, as you are talking of the international ranking, I don't know the parameters that you are referring to, but whatever we are doing, it is in the interest of the media in the country here. And the indicators show that we have been improving, by the way. Compared with the global ranking for the other year, we have moved ahead 11 points, is it not so? Compared with the other year. But that is not what we talk to be the improvement as media authority. What we consider to be the improvement is the environment of the media. So in most cases, especially on the side of the journalists, they have been doing very well. Most of the issues that we always talk as media authority, like hate speech, it has become minimal in the all recognized media houses. If you find issues of hate speech, you will find them from hostile and parallel media, like Radio Mirai and the rest, who do not conform with what we require as the regulator. So if you could see now, for example, in most of the broadcasting radio or in the newspapers, this issue of ethnic-based hate speech reporting is completely over. It's no longer there. So in this regard, at least now you could be able to measure the performance of freedom of expression by the live broadcast most of the radios are doing. Anybody can call anywhere in any part of the country and express his opinion. He's not intimidated. He's not arrested. Is it not so? Also, you could see also like the controversial issue of dredging. People speak their mind here and there. Well, these are the issues at some point as media authority we are always very keen to see any interferences. So, but there are some isolated cases at some point whereby we are always on top. And most of the incidences that used to happen before are no longer happening today, simply because of the high level of awareness that has been ongoing. Yeah, you might be talking of the incidences like a Voice of America journalist was arrested, put in the prison. Yeah, that will be lingering in your mind to be one of the issues affecting the media. But the media also, you look critically what happened at that time. You might have also contributed for the incident. Simply because all of you here, when you are moving here, you have your all IDs. You prove that you are a journalist. And if you move without an ID and you are found in the middle of protest, and then you don't have the ID to show that you are a journalist. And everybody nowadays become journalists. If I have my telephone, I should be able to cover. This is what people believe. But you must be in position to prove in every occasion and everything that you are doing. So later on when we were elected, we were able to follow the case. And then the charges was that they found her to be a protester. Then we told them that she was not a protester. She was a journalist. She was doing her work. And if there is any media violation, issues to do with the ethics of journalism, the media authority is in a better position to handle it. So while in the process to be released from the police, was already taken to the prison. So the police, they aid when you are in the custody of police, then the police have all the powers to release that person. But when the person is taken to the prison, it is a different level of the government. So we have to engage the other authorities like the Ministry of Justice, which they did their part. The issue here is this. You need to separate the issues. Issues of the media and issues of public interest. You as a journalist, you are a citizen and you are a journalist. You have to separate the two. You have all the right like any other citizen. If you want to express your opinion like any citizen, you are free also. You are also a journalist required to do your work in accordance to the profession and to that media house that assigned to you. So in most cases, some of the issues that turn out to be issues of concern, there are elements of negligence at some point on our side. And these issues, sometimes these are the areas we need to improve. And if you could imagine, this is the first case by the police. All these years, we always have cases with the security. But this was the first case of the police because it was a protest. And the police say they found all of them as protesters. And there is nothing that proved he was a journalist. So if we are claiming, then it put us on the wrong side. But as the media authority, they will be able to now understand. But as you just go, they will always, because always you have to stand in solidarity, and then you go and sort the issue out. So the investigation always is very important, and we need to be very careful most of the time when there is an incident that happened to be able to pay attention, simply because you don't exactly know what happened. What you will be saying will complicate the issue. When we come as the regulators, now these are the journalists, then they tell us these are the protesters. And then whatever has been said in the process, try to mediate, sometimes can complicate the issue. So sometimes let us have a careful approach. On the side of the parliament, because there are some incidences that come up in the parliament and many other places. What happened most of the time, which I will be able to urge you as a journalist, let us just be realistic. Always there are different protocols specific to different events. If there are protocols set that this is the procedure to be followed, let us just follow those procedures. And let us not impose that I'm a journalist. That word sometimes is not enough. So if you are required to pass through the clerk or through the administrator that will now forward your case, follow it. It will not take you a lot of time, rather than later to be detected while you have left some of the procedures. So we have issues of protocol, and this is not only journalists. This is a cross-cutting issue, especially even in the government. We need to emphasize on this also, how they can be able to emphasize on the media. Good enough. I was in one of the two occasions, the opening of the bridge here and the opening of Luri. And I was convinced beyond reasonable doubt that journalists are more organized. So what brings always the problems, most of the time we need to be able to identify carefully. And if there are some of the issues, sometimes there is somebody that you have changed a word, that should be isolated cases. We should not generalize. You just deal with that person and let the person understand the importance of your work. But saying I'm media, it does not either. It does not solve the situation. So let us use common sense also when we are in different occasions at a high level occasion that require press attendance. Yeah.
The other thing is that is facing the press, the print media, is removal of articles from the newspapers. That happens. It continues to happen. I don't know what your comment about it and what you are currently doing about it, because security at the printing press go through the stories before they are published, and then when they find a story that they do not feel should go on, they remove it. I would like to get your comment on that. What do you say in that regard? Is that not a violation of media freedom? Why should they be? Why should they have that authority to remove any article? And is there a regulation maybe that support the kind of work that they do?
Yeah, what happened in the media authority, there is no provision for us to be having censorship. What we encourage is that all of you should be doing your work and mindful of what you are required not to. And for us as media authority, it's all the issues of hate speech. So we believe in accountability. You do your work, and then at some point, we make you accountable. If you could see most of the time, it has become very common also, you are talking of the removal of the articles. And also, if you also see in the papers, there are issues of apologies and correction. All these things goes together. But removal of article is not acceptable. But at some point, the time we started, I was of the opinion there is no reason of the security to be there. But because of some of negligence at some point, whereby people don't pay due diligence to some of articles, especially the opinion writers. I come with my article, you just go and publish it. And this article is against certain group or Mr. X or Z. Tomorrow what will happen again? That person wants to respond. And in this regard, you have given a platform for incitement. In most cases, by the way, some of the articles that the security remove, some of them sometimes people apologize for them, that they did not pay attention. And there are some of the issues sometimes they remove that we are not comfortable. We request them to be republished back. What we believe is that...
This is clearly a violation, right?
Wait. This is the situation whereby the moment you give incitement platform as a journalist or editor, this is where the concern comes in. You remember at some point there was a article being removed by the people who are not the security. They went to the printing press and they stopped the publication of that article. It was not security. We were alerted. We said that thing to be printed because we did not see. The people at the printing press with the security also, they say that if this article is printed, what will happen tomorrow will be a different thing. Those were between the communities. What happened later on, that article was removed. In the morning, everybody to come to media authority. When they came to the media authority, we found, by the way, there was a high conflict. And there was no reason that article can be qualified to be published. And that editor-in-chief at some point said that was not there during the time the paper was sent. So we are human beings. There are errors here and there. We cannot be penalizing people here and there. But there are also issues of incapacity. I'm sorry to say this. Because if something repeats itself every day, and become a normal routine, then it is a challenge. Number two also, why should it be the same paper every day? Why not other papers? You should be able also to ask yourself. But as media authority, we are here growing the media. And to grow the media, we have to move slowly. We give people time to adjust. So the issue of the security, at some point, before, those who just remove the article for the sake of removal, we made them to be made accountable. And you learn at some point, there are changes that are being made at the printing press. And this is the effort of what we emphasize. If there is anybody that should be there, should be able to know what is the purpose of the media, is to inform the public. Criticism is not a problem. That is what is the purpose of the media. So in this regard, that's why you see now, in the media authority, we are receiving complaints from the government officials, from everybody, which means now everybody is now respecting the laws. That is the issue. So the violation that you are saying that when the article is being removed, If you just write recklessly that you are not coming to the office tomorrow there because there is something very big that is going to happen, and you don't specify what is that something big, I even don't know as media authority. These are the interests of the security. Why this like this? You see? But it might be the language at some point, selection of words at some point. So if that article is being removed, and then as media authority we bring the both parties, yeah, this is the problem. Then yeah, I can see there is a problem. Then you change the words. The article is republished the other following day, or in the next issue, wherever it is appropriate. And also, at the moment, that show people at some of the newspapers or the radio station, they have strengthened also their effort, also at the same time. And that's why we are receiving complaint from the public also, that this newspaper is refusing my article, and this radio is not broadcasting my program, simply because if the radio knows very well the program is inciting, and the article is inciting or having element of hate speech, definitely it is all the rights of the radio, and we dismiss those cases that you don't have anything to complain. The editorial policy is independent. It is upon the radio and the paper to judge what is right to be published and what is right to be broadcast. And if there are issues, always we call the broadcasting or the paper, look, there is this issue, as an issue of concern, just to guide them to be very to take precaution. This is the care that we are giving to the media at the moment. So in these regards, there is the reason why sometimes the national security at the printing press remove article. And as media authority also, we are emphasizing removal of article is not acceptable. But when such horrible article sometimes comes in, it puts us at a weaker side. We are emphasizing and they are proving at the same time. So what is there, it is a matter of time. As we adjust and everything become okay, then they will not be able to pay attention to such thing. And even there will be even nobody to be there. What they are looking is only incitement and issues of hate speech. Those are the only two areas that they are emphasizing, and classified information, because some of the people, they don't know what is classified information, and information can be broadcast. And this is also at the same time come with awareness. If all of us are aware of classified information, hate speech, issues of incitement, then issues of removal of article could have not been there. But we will not stop. This issue of removal of article, we will stop it, but when will it stop? We are determined to keep on the momentum. But it is when all of us become on the same page. So we don't need to be imposing things the way we think. Since we have the rules, we have the laws, we emphasize the laws are here to promote the rights of every individual and protection of every individual. So in this regard, it is really very important for all of you to be dedicated, and everything that you are doing most of the time, you ask yourself of a possible outcome. If you know this is inciting, then you pay due diligence. Sometimes they remove articles simply because only wedding at some point. So the judgment differ from person to person. And if such person make a mistake, these are the issues sometimes we order them to be republished. There are some of the papers, at some point up to now, there are no articles being removed. Why? What is wrong with them? Those newspapers. It's not every media that always have concern with the security. It's not every journalist that is always having problem with the security. I was impressed one of the time seeing one of your journalists celebrating his 10th anniversary as a journalist. How did he make it for 10 years not having an issue? These are the issues of concern that we need to streamline. But as media authority, what we realize, some of us or some of the journalists, they don't have the capacity. Because there were some of the articles where we bring them, we call them to the media authority, and they could not be able to just say, I'm sorry. That one itself is not enough. As a competent journalist, you stand for what you have done, and then continue defending it. So in this regard, we take it as a learning process. As we are growing the media, we should be able to at least move together. Yes.
Just one quick one. We are living in the age of multimedia.
Multimedia.
And there are some places when you go, you use your phone to take photos. It is snatched by the security. Is your office working to actually legalize phones as part of the journalistic tools that can be used for taking photos in other areas? One. Number two, in America or in other Western world, there are posters that this place you cannot take photos in these areas, like the bridge or military installations or other places. In South Sudan, it looks like everywhere in town, photos are not allowed. So what can you tell us concerning these things?
Yeah, to answer your question, when you say in America, we are in South Sudan, and our laws here, they don't talk of America. So let's talk about our laws in South Sudan and the practice in South Sudan. So issue to do for the media authority to legalize in the telephone, I'm sorry for that. It's a misplaced statement. Yes. And is there any media house that has been buying telephone for the media for coverage? No. These are the gadgets that you are expected to have as a journalist. If you are in an occasion, a high-level occasion, please don't use the telephone. Let me just repeat, don't use the telephone. If you want to use a telephone, please take permission. Take permission. You might be allowed by those people at that particular occasion. But please, it's not allowed to use the telephone.
And why is that? Why is it not allowed?
It's not a media equipment. Even though it has the capability, please do not allow it. Yeah. In regards to taking photos, my young David Maya, let us just be realistic. Let us be realistic. You don't need to tell me everywhere people are allowed to take photos. I cannot agree with you on that. Every country, every institution, they have their requirements. Military installation globally, they are not allowed. Why do you want to be allowed in South Sudan? For what reason? Let us just be specific about South Sudan, and what the laws of South Sudan require you to do, follow them. It's simple. You will not have problem. Also, you know very clearly, we even put caution. Military installation security activities are strictly not allowed for photos or documentaries. But they can be allowed. You just go to them. Tell them the reason you want to take the pictures. They might allow you to take the photos. You must be authorized to take the photos. It's not automatic. So please, let us just follow our rules and regulations, and let's follow our laws. Then we will not have any conflict. Now when we come, because it is done there, and we have to do it here, we are creating conflict. And that one will not be acceptable. And these issues sometimes, these are the issues sometimes that bring you into problem. And simply because now, at least the security sector, they are aware of the media authority and the media activities because of the level of engagement. Even though journalists, some of those journalists who always do that, they always bring them to us. And we handle them and advise them accordingly, whether national journalists or international journalists. You can remember the case of international journalists that went to Guyana and then start filming at the Guyana. What happened? The soldiers immediately, they found these are foreigners and why they are here, and this is the headquarters of the army. You can imagine that. Simply because of the level of awareness, they knew these people who carry the cameras belong to the media authority. They were put in the taxi and then put in the middle of the taxi, and the taxi was driven to the media authority. They were worried. But simply because they are aware, but what they did is not acceptable. Now we told them, thank you for the effort that you have done, and we will be able to do the rest. But for what reason in the first place? Even the permit that they came, there was no any element mentioned that they are going to Giada. If they could have gone to mention such thing like that, we could have told them the procedure to follow. So taking absolute decision, simply because you are comfortable doing it, let us be mindful of the procedures and the rules to follow in every activity that you are doing. So military installation, security activities, and others, restricted areas, please don't do that. Don't do that. Because it is done somewhere, it is in South Sudan, is not allowed. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, on the cases of the journalists in Jonglei who were suspended because the government complained, voice of the governor was not aired at the same time when the deputy governor there. We understand those journalists are still suspended up to now. What do you say as a media authority? There was a statement you issued last time telling the media house to reinstate them back and telling the government to open the media.
Yeah, you know, as media authority, we deal with the regulation of the content and regulation of the media and the entities. And in the case of Radio Jonglei, it was not acceptable to take absolute decision to close the radio. That is not allowed, because this is a national law and it is the same government, and you cannot be able to interfere without giving a genuine reason. So if the voice of the state government was not broadcast, you can remember our position by that time. We were very clear. All the media are free to broadcast what they think is in the public interest. And Radio Jonglei is not a public radio. If the state want the radio to broadcast there, then let them establish the radio. But the other radio can work in cooperation with the state government. So what happened with the journalists? The radio was opened, and what happened with the journalists? This is the issue to do with the welfare. We don't interfere with administration of every radio. But if you are having issues to do with your work as a journalist, this is the issue where we are concerned. You have contract with the iRadio. The terms for you working in the iRadio are very clear. There are administrative procedures in iRadio. As media authority, we don't interfere with administrative procedures of every independent media. We don't interfere with any editorial policy of every independent media. We have Union of Journalists. They deal with the welfare of the journalists. They always speak up. And these are the issues of concern most of the time they address. And if they need our support, then this is where we come in. But we cannot be able to take the lead on the issues of to do with a contract within individual media houses. You know, there are some cases, this is not the first case. They happen everywhere. There are some of the people who win and some of the people who lose. There are some issues that need to be handled by the court. Issues to do with the contract. What the Labor Act say in the country here. Was it justifiable or was it fair, that dismissal? So these are the issues. There are other competent bodies that deal with that. What we deal, it is your work and how you do it. This is in the public interest. That is our concern. If you have broadcast something and then there are people who have problem with the content that you broadcast, this is what we come in as media authority. That is interference, and this is in the public interest and has to go to the media. So issues of contract are not part of your contract with the radio. Is individual. It is you who went to look for the job, and there were the requirements within that organization as an employer, and terms and conditions is specific between you and that employer as agreed. If there are violations, there is a best way they can be addressed, but the media authority will not be able to address issues of contract between the journalist and the media house. But if you are penalized because of the content or whatever it is, then that is something different. Thank you.
Okay, will you be able to I just wanted to get some sort of clarification. I had wanted to know how you will have to tell us the difference. We have two entities right here, and we have got the usuals, of course, the union journalists. Then we have got AMBIs. Sometimes back, there had been some conversations we've been getting out of the social media through our groups. Wanted to know exactly how can you differentiate between usuals and AMBIs. You'll be able to clarify that something.
UJOS is a trade union, and every profession they have their own trade union, and every profession they have only one trade union. So in this profession of media, where involved with journalists, the union is a union of journalists. When you come to AMDIS is an NGO that advocates for freedom of expression in South Sudan. UJOS advocate for the freedom of expression and the welfare of the journalists in the Republic of South Sudan. Now, where you see them, they are not different because all of them are doing training, and you cannot differentiate. But this line should be very, very clear. Union of Journalists is a trade union in this profession as media sector for all the journalists. Association for Media Development deal with the capacity building, promotion of freedom of expression, which UJOS does also at the same time. So when we talk of code of conduct for the practice of the journalism, is promoting ethical reporting. This is what the Union of Journalists pick up. It is a concern that all the journalists should be in capacity to be reporting ethically and follow the rules, as they defend the rights of the journalists at the same time. So Union of Journalists, they deal specifically with the issues to do with the welfare of journalists. And that's why you see them, if there is an incident that is happening, it is already thy member, and that's why they go and defend you. If you are not thy member, they might not be defending you. But since you are a member, they protect the interests of the journalists in the country. And that's why you see them in every incident, they will always appear. The incident will happen like this, and they will alert the media authority also at the same time. And then meanwhile, they try to follow the case. So that is the reason you see them always. Yes, when you see AMDIS, it is because the media, they are talking of the media, the umbrella. But the UJOs have a specific task. So they are trade union, and the other one is an NGO. This is how they are recognized in the media authority, and they should not be able to confuse you. Yeah, thank you.
I wanted to ask specific question in regards to opinion writers.
Opinion writers.
Yeah, those who are opinion writers, but by qualification or by training, they are not journalists. Maybe they are lawyers, maybe they are economists, and those kind of
yeah.
Since they are going to do an accreditation of journalists now.
Yeah.
Somebody who has been writing opinion for the last 6 years, for example, and he's not having qualification of journalism. What steps are you going to do to make sure that either this person is accepted or rejected? What is going to happen?
Yeah, what we are talking here, we are talking of journalists. Not every opinion writer is a journalist. I can be able to write on my opinion and can be published. Everybody. So what happened? The accreditation is meant only for journalists. The freedom of expression allowed everybody to express his or her opinion. That thing should continue, but does not qualify them to be journalists. For them to be qualified as journalists, you should meet those requirements. And the accreditation that is just given to you, you will remind yourself of it, of all those procedures, what are the requirements, everything is there. So in this regard, those opinion writers, they are acting within their rights, as freedom of expression is for everybody. They can continue writing, but the person who will be editing their work must be accredited. That's the point. So accreditation does not limit people to express their opinion. Accreditation is only meant for those who are meant for profession. That's it. Simple as that. Thank you. In the accreditation that you are having there, who should be accredited? Who is having the accreditation text there? Read for me at page 12, number 10. Can you read it?
10 number 10.
Number 10. Who should be accredited? 1. All qualified national journalists. 2. Editors-in-chiefs, managing editors and copy editors. 3. Freelance journalists. 4. Student journalists, trainees. 5. Foreign journalists. And 6. Cartoonists.
Cartoonists. These are the people that are required to be accredited. So if you are within this group, then these are the people who can be recognized in this situation. The opinion writers, those who are commentaries, they still continue exercising, expressing their opinion, but does not qualify them to be journalists. It's simple as that. Thank you.
Okay, I want to add another thing to help my colleague here. Because he asked about using mobile and there is noise from the security.
Yeah.
Because you see, like for example, sometimes when president comes, they check the cameras. But phone is, maybe the security is dangerous for the those VIP like presser like that. But it's good for them, for media, it's something for media development, sending quickly like this. So that's why the security stop you when you come with your mobile. Mobile is look dangerous to them more than
because they don't have that capability of checking.
That's why they stop you. But I think mobile is good for the communication and for the media.
Yeah.
And also, just to add something.
Yes.
For the question of the security, removing articles. If you see the National Security Act, section 13 and subsection let me get the right one.
Yeah.
Write it down so that you say it also. 13. Section 13.
Yes.
Subsection 11.
Yes.
It says monitor frequencies, wireless systems, publications, broadcasting stations, and postal services in respect to security interests so as to prevent misuse by users. So the issue of removing articles is not really media authority, it is the national security. I think I just wanted to make that one.
Thank you.
In the act. So the problem first, if we want to address it, is to address the problem of the act, because the power is given to them. So media authority is only coming in to try to tell them, you don't need to do it too much. I see where the problem is. Also, on the phone, I want to add also. I remember one time we were in the airport and President came. One of the radios, they're doing live. And even at that time, asked him after the security said, this guy is doing live, the President is coming. So he asked Ateng, and Ateng talked to the journalist, and he tried to, but at the end we talked to him to stop, because this in the security is wrong. Because, you know, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Samir and Patrick, for bringing in the element of National Security Act. By the way, they have all the powers in the act. And this is the area we need to appreciate as the media sector. Because as media authority, we try to harmonize those acts. You know, before the national security, as per the act, when they found anything, they need to arrest you, investigate until when there is nothing, they release you. But now to harmonize the act and the media authority, this is the only best thing that we have achieved as the media sector and the national security. The national security for the last 3 or 4 years, they have left all the issues to do with the media, irrespective. The act is still talk of it, that they should be handled by the media authority. And a journalist found in contravention of anything that they think, and he's a journalist, please take it to the media authority. You remember the case of your colleagues that were found in one of the states. And when they were doing that work with that NGO, they did not follow the normal procedure. The security found them, since they did not have anything to prove them. They are journalists. They are the people they will be looking for. So what happened? One of them proved that he's having an ID for one of local media. We have to intervene immediately, because that media is recognized by the media authority. While the plane has not yet landed, we have already made all the effort to ensure these people should not be arrested. So what happened? They were kept. The following day, we went and they were released, and we addressed the issue. The problem was not the journalists. The problem was the NGO that did not follow the normal procedure. So you could see, without this level of understanding, they were acting within the act. Yeah. So, but because of the level of understanding, now they respect the work of the media authority, and that's why they were released. And from that time, no any journalist to be taken to the media, to the national security, unless you have done something outside the media, outside your profession, like any other citizen, then the law will be applied to you as individual, but not as a journalist. So this is the area that we need to appreciate. But the issue of the telephone, by the way, is for security reason. That's what I can just say. And anything for security reason is not within our mandate. It is within thy mandate. And we need to respect the protocol set for that occasion. If there is a reason you need to use the telephone beyond reasonable doubt, as when you are streaming the news live and you cannot afford, as a media house, you better follow the normal procedure of asking permission before doing it. And if you are allowed, then it can be able. Samir has given you good example. Before every occasion, they check your gadgets. They have the competence to do that. This one with the apps on whatever it is, they might not be having the capacity to check the security features of the gadgets that you are having as a telephone. You might come with a bomb in form of telephone, who knows? Those are the areas that they look, not because we carry them, but for your safety and for the comfort of what you are doing, not to be interrupted. Whenever going to occasion, go with the media equipment, don't go with the telephone. If you go with the telephone, seek permission from those occasions. If it is allowed, then they will be able to allow based on thy level of understanding. But we don't need to impose issues of security that we don't have knowledge and we don't have competence as the media authority. We also work in collaboration to address the issues of the media. And if there are some of the issues of concern from them, then let us also respect thy work. That's what I can say. And thank you very much for today's press conference. Thanks. Yes, sorry.
Well, that has been the press conference from the from the Media Authority of the Republic of South Sudan. You have had much, starting with the procedures on accreditation of the national journalists by the media authorities, to all the cross-cutting issues that are affecting the media fraternity in the Republic of South Sudan, and the ones that are affecting, and the areas of improvement for this smooth operation of the media and the development of the media sector in the Republic of South Sudan. Juba Echo will continue to bring you live on issues of concern that are affecting the growth of the media and all the other sectors in the Republic of South Sudan. Juba Echo, information for empowerment. That is it for today. See you in our next programming. My name is Rod George.